Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is episode 11 of the Ask a Question show, the show in which you ask a question about any type of narcissistic or abusive or otherwise toxic situation or relationship. And I, along with the rest of the audience here, will do our very best to help answer it. And so our goal is to give you the support and the feedback that you need so that you can move forward in getting all of the clarity, the closure, and the healing that you so deserve. And so today's question comes from Jonathan. Jonathan asks, Dear Dana, how do I rebuild my self-esteem after an abusive relationship? Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for your question. It is a very valid one. It's something that I think all of us really struggle with. So, for me, rebuilding my self-esteem, it was kind of a long process. I'm not going to lie. And there was really no one thing that I did. It was definitely a bunch of little things combined that really helped me to get to the place where I am today. And maybe some of the biggest, I had to make a lot of different mindset shifts, and I had to have a lot of certain realizations. And for me, realizing that Jack and Steve's behavior was their behavior, and it wasn't an honest reflection of who I was or my self-worth or what I was about. So because I really internalized that for a long time. A lot of their behavior, I mean, the up and leaving, the everything that kind of happened after that, all the lies, all of the deceit, all of the bad behavior that I found out about, of course, was incredibly painful and incredibly hurtful because I internalized that and I made it about me. And I thought, well, I must be this really bad, awful person for them to up and leave. Why am I so unlovable? And the reality is, I'm very lovable. Damn it! I have a lot of really good character traits, and I am a good person. And they're the ones that have really poor character, and they're the ones that have a lot of bad behavior. So kind of separating out what really happened and, who kind of getting to really be comfortable and confident in who you are and the strengths of who you are and what you have to bring to the table for sure in a relationship, but having, taking enough confidence and strength in who you are and in your strengths to not let another person rattle that. So, for me, writing out lists of these are the things that I like about myself. And when I first started doing this, it was really hard because there really wasn't a lot I liked about myself. And that's kind of, when you go through an abusive relationship of any kind, it's almost, it's a bomb that goes off in your life, but it's also kind of this crash course into personal growth that you're probably never going to have otherwise. So there's actually a lot of, self-reflection, and it allows for a lot of personal growth if you can realize that, that you can get that out of this situation, that a lot of good can actually come out of this in the end if you let that happen. So, for me, my self-esteem was probably really low to begin with. I had a lot of issues, and I didn't realize it until after these relationships. So, really realizing, okay, this is what I like about myself. And, I am a good friend. I sincerely care about other people. I value learning. And then kind of just realizing, okay, what are your strengths? I always focus on learning the lessons that life has to teach. And, so kind of really getting clear on where your strengths are, what's working in your corner. And once you realize these strengths and really get clear on who you are, I did a vision board that I'm a huge fan of that because I'm a very visual person. So these are the kinds of things that worked for me. But a vision board, if you're not familiar with the concept, I'm going to link to my forum down below because I think it'd be fun for all of us to kind of do this together. So, but what it is you can take pictures. You can either cut them out of magazines or you can find them online and do kind of like a vision board on Pinterest or something like that. But you can get pictures that represent kind of either, your strengths or kind of who you want to be. And you can combine all these together, and then the whole goal is that you look at this vision board on a regular basis, and that you kind of steer into becoming that person. I wish I'd kept my vision board. I still remember it. It was I had a little writing room in my house at the time. It was a little sunroom. And on my vision board, I had on there that I wanted to be a community health nurse, that I wanted to work with different types. I wanted to be an advocate for different types of victims of different types of crimes and abuse. And I wanted to be a writer. And trying to think. Oh, I had one for physical fitness. I wanted to really get into great shape. That has not happened, but I've gotten better with it. I'm not avidly working on it as much as I should, but I need to make that a priority. But so it's sort of like the whole goal is to put things about who the ideal version of you, and then to kind of steer into that. And so a lot of what I had put on that board, gosh, back then, like 4 or 5 years ago, it has happened. And so kind of once I got clear, and once you get clear on the kind of person that you want to be, and what your strengths are and what you want your strengths to be, then I found it very helpful to back up that clarity with visual representations of that. So, because again, I'm very visual. So I have some things in the background here that worked for me, that I have and still have, obviously, around my house. And so over here in the corner, I have my bamboo. And bamboo is the symbol of luck. And I like kind of the concept that we grow our own luck. And that luck doesn't just happen, that we make it happen. So that's why I have my bamboo. So this little bird over here, this little white dove, to me represents peace. And that I always want to have peace in my life. And probably one of the biggest lessons I learned with both of these awful relationships was to always trust your instincts. And I call this following your peace. Always follow your peace. If you don't have peace about a person or a situation or something, it's a sign to just take a step back and figure out, okay, what, is this a deal breaker, or do you need to change your approach to where you do have peace in moving forward? So that was a huge, huge, huge lesson for me. Then behind here, I painted this. This is obviously a picture of a butterfly. And I painted this shortly after Jack and I broke up. Again, it very, represents the transformation that I wanted to make. And that I didn't want to stay this kind of broken down, sad person. That I really wanted to transform and to just be me, like full out. And I wanted to just have this amazing transformation and just be able to fly. And so that's what that represented. Then my mermaid, and some of you guys have commented on my mermaid in the past. The 8-year-old girl inside of me has always had a thing for mermaids. So they've always appealed to me. But the mermaid represents it's a class I used to teach when I was working at the domestic violence shelter. And I'm going to try to make this a short story. So when I had worked there for several years, and then through my time there, I realized we were seeing a lot of the same women over and over again. And I was getting really frustrated figuring out what is going on here? Why are we not able to stop this cycle? And it dawned on me one day that really kind of what the problem was is, a lot of it was these women, they didn't have any self-esteem. They didn't have their a good grip on their finances or in their own life. They were always in kind of a state of transition. And what was happening was these men would come along and they would get caught up with them. These men were kind of the solution to all their problems at the time, which that can be very dangerous, right, if it's the wrong person. And then they'd find themselves back at the shelter. And so I began using the analogy of if you don't have a good grip in your own life, it's sort of like being, you kind of find yourself in the middle of the ocean, and it's dark and it's scary and it's cold and you're alone and you're panicked and you don't know what to do. And so you're just flailing around because you don't know how to get out of there. And so, next thing you know, there's a guy that comes along on a boat, and, if you're in that position, you're lost and it's dark and it's scary and it's cold and you're tired of treading water, then you're not going to be too picky about who's driving the boat. You're just going to hop in the boat. And so that's what a lot of these women were doing. And so then they would get in the boat and they'd think, oh, thank God, finally, I'm saved. And then they would start going down this path with this guy in this boat. And the next thing they knew, this guy was absolutely nuts and would either shove them out of the boat, or things got so bad that they would jump out of the boat. But then next thing they knew, they were back in this dark, deep ocean, treading water. It was cold and scary, and they were alone. And my analogy was, the only solution to that is you've got to learn to swim. And until you have that confidence in your abilities, and until you can get a solid grip on your own life, then you're always going to be looking externally for other people to make your life okay and to rescue you from your own life. And that's a very unhealthy way to go about things. And of course, this analogy applies to men as well. Everything that I do applies to men as well. So just know that. So but once you have a good grip on kind of who you are and what you're about, and you can support yourself emotionally and physically and financially and all of that, then you're not going to be in such a scramble to have somebody kind of bail you out of your own life. That was a huge thing for me. Jack really bailed me out emotionally. I was fresh out of a divorce, and I didn't realize how vulnerable I was, which is crazy to even think about, that I didn't realize that, but I really didn't realize how vulnerable I was at the time. And he just gave me all of the warmth and reassurance and attention and affection that I needed. And that's how that was one of many reasons as to why that relationship happened. Kind of same with Steve. So I didn't realize that I was kind of this empty bucket emotionally, and that I was so vulnerable that way. Now that I realize that, I've spent a lot of time and energy working on that, and I've also keep it at the forefront of my mind. So if somebody does come along and they're just everything I need emotionally, for me to kind of do a gut check and think, is this healthy, or do I still have some work to do in these areas? So then I'll keep going down my list here. So then I had this ball over here, and this ball, if you notice, it's just kind of this random hammered ball. I got this it was a gift from a friend of mine, one of my favorite gifts I've ever gotten. And when I opened it up, I asked my friend, I said, "What on earth is this?" And she's like, "I don't know." She said, "I guess it's whatever you want it to be." She's like, "I just liked it and I thought of you." And so I thought, that's such a great metaphor, because I'm such a sucker on metaphors and just kind of symbolism in general. I guess it's so symbolic of, this is just life, like it just is, and we're the ones that assign meaning to it. And what meaning are you assigning to these different events in your life? So there's that. I really like that. So then, of course, my Buddha board, which I've talked about before, and it's a little flimsy piece of poster board that I got at, Michael's or someplace like that. And I wrote down a bunch of different mindsets that I wanted to keep. And I have this stuff all over my house. I still do. I actually did come across 2 more posters the other day. I was cleaning out a memory trunk of mine, and I came across this one. It says confidence and peace. That was hanging above my stairwell for about a year. And then here's another one. I love this one. It says, "I absolutely believe that something good will happen to me and through me today." And I had this one hanging up in where I'd get dressed in the morning. And so these posters, I just want you to know, when I was writing them out, I did not believe them at all. Like at all. I felt like such a fraud writing them out, because I remember my hand just trembling, being like, I don't believe this, but I wanted to believe it. And I wanted to be the kind of person that was like, yeah, hell yeah, I've got confidence and peace, and hell to the yes, I do believe that something good is going to happen to me today and through me. Yeah, I can do that. And so, putting things out there, again, that in the direction that you want to be, in the areas that you want to improve on, and you keep repeating it to yourself and you keep seeing it, your mind is going to steer into that. So I know that all kind of might be a little hippie woo-woo. I'm kind of a little hippie woo-woo, so I will give you probably a lot of hippie woo-woo advice. So just know that. But I will be curious to know what everybody else has to say, and we'll go from there. I hope that helped. And if anybody else has a question for the Ask a Question show, please let me know. I will put my contact information down below. And as always, if you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, frustrations, ideas for videos, ideas in general, insights, you need some support, you just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you guys. Please don't hesitate to contact me. And as always, lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy. And you so can heal from this. You really, really can. And one last thing, again, as always, the best revenge is a good life. So please pour your energy into making that happen. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Take care.